Krishna said. And I guess I'll share. Krishna, enable sharing.
Can you try now?
Yeah, 1 second. Yeah, I can. Think you can see my screen now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oops.
You can see the car. Yeah.
Does this work?
There's a patch on top, but yes, I think that's where your hide is.
This thing won't hide. Okay. Maybe now this you can see.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So I'll just. Is there a slideshow here? Okay, how do I start the slideshow?
Yeah, presentation.
It won't full
Okay.
screen it.
But it's coming out really
One
well.
present and the whole screen would be selected and presented.
Okay, I'm going like this only. So anyway, I'm from Quest Alliance. You may have heard our organization. Our vision is basically to create independent learners, like self-learners. And the broader vision is again that once we have independent learners who can, self-learn, they'll probably cultivate a world with more social and economic progress. And the mission is that we transform learning ecosystems through edtech, capacity building, and collaboration. And all of this is based around 21st century skills in learners and facilitators. So the scale of the chatbot that we have a chatbot called Ikki. You may have tried it. I'll share the link later. The scale of the chatbot is around 80K, which is where we see the chatbot reaching across multiple states. So I'll dive into the dashboard and what the problem was. So again, I guess everybody is familiar with the chatbot and the kind of data we get from the chatbot. So the first problem that we faced was there was very limited data-driven decision. So although I think in BigQuery we have every chat and all sorts of data available, we were not using that data to drive decisions. And it also had a steep learning curve. Even though we had dashboards earlier, the learning curve was a lot to enable us to drive decisions. And the dashboard targeted people with data skills. So what happened, even per se the V5 dashboard, which is like a pretty full-fledged dashboard and you have everything, we often required someone to go to the dashboard, toggle something, change some option, and then they were able to see what they wanted to get answers to their queries. So again, it was targeted to people with data skills and not all team members. And hence that created some dependency on us. So the intended solution was that we have instead of having one place, which I think right now is the V5 dashboard, instead of having such a comprehensive dashboard, we would have a one-pager dashboard that addresses essential questions tailored to the intended audience. So, which means, for example, for our chatbot, we have multiple states, and these states are running our chatbots. So each state may have a different requirement that query that they want answered. So the one pager was the solution. And a regularly distributed dashboard, which means you get the dashboard over your mail periodically. And this also leads to surfacing essential points so that the team can discuss and interpret it, like sort of a weekly summary that we can get of the dashboard and so that we get an idea of where the chatbot is going. I'll go to the process, but I think I should show the dashboard first. This is the one-pager dashboard. I hope you can see it. You can see it, right?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the sample Telangana dashboard, and as you can see, we have like goals here written. So this is like the one pager. The first goal is like we want to onboard 10,000 users, and this is where we are. So it gives us a clear view, we just load the dashboard and we are clear, okay, 10,000 users and we are 40% there. Goal 2 is that 50% users onboarded should cover 50% content, and then the progress for that. And finally, who covers 100% content. So these are some metrics that are team wanted, and this is different for like different states. So again, this is a sample one where these are the metrics, and gives like a clear picture of uh, where we are in the. And here you can also like drill down. This was showing so basically our content is divided in 5 weeks basically, and there you saw how many users were in which week. And of course we can drill down this. We have a date selection. uh, these are basically points in our flow, basically like level 1 2 3, you can think of it. And so this is just a filter to check who is where, and we can like sort of filter it for a certain district. So we have like 2 here for sample. So this is the first page, which gives the overall like overview, goals level. The other one is performance level. So this has district names and school names. So uh, I think I should, if you don't know, so ICKI is basically, with ICKI, this chatbot, we are trying to teach computational thinking to students from class 5 through 10 or 12. So our main target audience are like students from schools only. So this, what this page helps us do is, we have district and school name. So we get an idea of like where our users are coming from. And then accordingly, we can sort of strategize how we can better, where to reach out more or do marketing better. So that's how this dashboard is. Um, the next point is like, what was the process behind the solution? So when we started out, like one key thing was that we map all stakeholders to all questions they want to ask, and pick the most essential stakeholders and questions which unblock them. So I think this, once you start talking to your team members, you'll often have like of some essential stakeholder who knows a lot or who knows the nuances of your program. um, and so basically that's what we did. We had a lot of discussions with our state teams and whoever was looking at the dashboards, and then I think we built the initial dashboard, and then some feedback was taken. And the last point, like, see which other stakeholder can use the same dashboard. So for us, this process was like, since we have different states, we talked individually to all these states what their requirements are, and that is how this dashboard came to be. So what happens for us is, for example, if somebody is, we often do school visit, or we go and check on the ground, like what district is doing what district is doing well, or what school is doing well. And we have like people who visit certain schools also. So again, the idea was that when the state team goes there, they can sort of gauge how effective they have been where, and where more response is coming from. So maybe invest more there. So that's how this dashboard came to be, after discussion with all of them. So that is the solution. Yeah. So another thing is like the time required to build it. So I think under 2 weeks you can do it very easily. Which is like having your discussions, getting what queries you want answered for your relevant teams, and then at least have an initial dashboard setup, and so you can get some feedback on it. Of course, there are some prerequisites for this. So for data tracking, like we had some already in place, and others Gotham helped us put together dashboard and whatever prerequisites were needed. So which is like labels, collection, and contact variables, which is how we are saving most of the data. So that needs to be done, and then we can do it in around 2 weeks. And we can go to page 4. So outcomes and insights. I hope I'm not rushing. So I'll go through the outcomes, like what I've observed while this dashboard was being built. One is that certainly there are more discussions, more demand for dashboards. So one, again, going back to we had the dashboard, we had all the data available, we had the dashboard, but it required some tinkering every time somebody came to get their queries answered. And because now we have these dashboards, people can just come and see, okay, this is my goal and this is where I am. There is a lot more discussion on what next, how do we achieve the gap to our goal. More data metric requests. So once we have this data, people are also coming up with more things that maybe we can measure. For example, one common thing was people wanted to know, we sometimes during school visits. So basically our team, someone wanted to know where these people are coming from. We are not capturing how you got on the chatbot. So, questions like that, like where did you find about the chatbot, something like that. So that's like one metric. But more such requests came, and there was like more inclusive data dialogues that basically started to happen as outcome to this dashboard. And like we are using very actively in one state, and two more I think we are going to start like very soon, just going through some iterations. The insights from all of this is again that the keep the dashboard simple. So I mean, in hindsight it makes a lot more sense that yeah, keep it simple, but like often I guess there is always a sense of let's get all the data we can get, but that often like creates confusion, I guess. So the insight was that keep it simple and relevant to the team members, and that really helps. And measure the quality of dashboard by the number of discussion it sparks. So I think this I saw, like observed, like earlier although we had a dashboard, not as much talk was happening around it, but once it was clear and relevant to our teams, and sort of action oriented, there are a lot more discussions now. So I think that is again one more insight. The next steps. So the next step is different dashboards for different audience. So right now, like I said, we have like this chatbot running across 3 states. So we have state teams. They would need a different dashboard so that they can know how their marketing or is going, and maybe gauge that. Funder will require a different type of dashboard. There may be we were talking about a health dashboard where we can see like the health. So more different dashboard for different audiences. That is where we intend to go next. More questions answered in different pages. Collect feedback of automated dashboard delivery that we have to do. It's been running for a while. I think we'll do that soon. And SOP on how and when to review dashboard as a team. So I think this also happens often where someone will come and question the number, or and then we have to go back and recheck if it's right or not. So I think there we need to discuss and create an SOP how and when to review dashboard teams. So that was the PPT.
Thank you so much, Saurabh.
Yeah.
Any questions for Saurabh? You can unmute yourself and speak. Oh, there are no questions?
No questions, but yeah, I really like the idea of having the goal and the success metric right on the dashboard. I mean, we never thought of it, and it's such a simple way of
Yeah.
tracking something. And yeah, I mean, for me, that was the highlight from your presentation. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. Anybody else have any other questions to Saurabh in terms of the process, in terms of anything else that you need to take care of, so that otherwise we can proceed to the next presentation?
Krishna, can I ask one question?
Yeah, go ahead, Vishwa.
Yeah. So Saurav, as you mentioned that you're planning to have different dashboards for different stakeholders, right? So I'm guessing you will also be sharing different links with different stakeholders, and all those links are basically connected to BigQuery, right? So my broader question is, when you are thinking about doing this, I mean, have you also considered about the, those costing effect? Because every time, any stakeholder will open the dashboard, it'll be a hit on the big query, and it actually, add cost. So have you thought about this? And yeah, I mean, if you have, do you mind sharing your learning?
Sure. So I think cost we can review once we like run it for 6 months. But I think the basic idea is, of course, every time somebody views it, there is some attached cost. But even with, say, a singular dashboard where you have a lot of filters, and everybody every time comes uses those filters, uh, the same query runs, right? So instead of your users coming to one single dashboard where they have to toggle 5 things, the query will run there also. So I think it's better, as far as I've seen, like people come to this, and with the delivery thing, they just know this is their number. So I
Yeah,
think
yeah. I mean,
it's
my
net.
broader doubt was not about even, having different dashboard or having one dashboard. It's more about, how do you approach, monitoring this piece around, and again, I mean, it is more on, so now we are at a stage where, we are just thinking that should we actually share our dashboard with everyone, or should we actually restrict, should we actually not share it, and maybe, just share insights directly with them over
Mhm.
maybe, Google Sheet or over
Yeah.
mail, and so that, they don't hit, I mean, and there are only a few persons that who are using the dashboard actively. I mean, my broader concern about and question was around that, and yeah, I mean,
No,
this.
that share is like to limited people. It's not available to everyone,
Hmm.
but the, sort of a PDF report can go to whoever. But otherwise, it's
Okay.
limited to, say, state team or the funder or our internal team.
Hmm. Okay. So your sense is that it's manageable, and for the
Yeah.
other stakeholder, you usually prefer sharing PDFs and not the Google GCS links, right? Google Data Studio links.
Yeah, I mean, like, not
Okay.
everybody requires access to it. So,
Makes sense.
yeah, Gautam, you want to add something?
Vishwa, I just think it's like a bell-shaped curve, right? For
Hmm.
people who are not used to viewing data, we are a traditionally story-based culture. So for us, stories is what remains. So for us, viewing dashboards is a very new thing. So I think initially we'll have to help with PDFs and very, very simple dashboards. Once that culture, once that curiosity sets in, then dashboards will become prevalent and soon we'll go to another level. But I'm just saying it's a journey, and you're trying to overall build a data culture, right? So keeping it simple, keeping it less scary, keeping it very easy to understand. In fact, oversimplifying it for the first few times might be a
Correct.
very
Correct.
good
Correct.
thing. And
Yeah.
cost-wise,
Yeah.
I don't think you'll really hit anything very significant unless you're
Yeah.
creating,
Significantly. Okay.
querying a huge database. So uh, I don't think you should worry about that at this point.
Yeah. Also, like, Gautam, we have not built any dashboard per se in-house. What we are doing is, we are using the one that Glifc has already built, which has, like, many pages and different, all of those things. So basically, we are just customizing it for some charts and using it. So yeah, I mean, but I got your answer. I think it's not, at least for initial month, we should not worry about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my takeaway, yeah.
Two is if you have a high cost, let's assume that you have a
Hmm.
very high cost, right? Two,
Hmm.
two things which could have caused that. One is, let's say your queries are bad and they're unnecessarily querying a lot of things, so cost will be high. Or two, you have a high number of users. And frankly, if you have a high number of users because of which your cost is high, it's a brilliant thing to talk about, which means your dashboards are making sense to a lot of people, right? So it will be a great place to
Makes sense.
be if you are
Hmm.
having users using your dashboard.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Thanks, Vishwa. Thanks, GP. Sir, in the interest of time, Saurabh, can you answer the question which Sibyl posted on the group?
Can you read it?
How do you How do you track whether they covered 100%? Example, is it labels, etc.?
100, how do you track whether they covered? Oh yeah, so like we have it in we have labels added in the flow across. So you mean if this data is covering all of the flows, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I need to know what your
Yeah, so
criteria.
okay. So 100% content we know because we have like we are basically updating a contact variable. So after each the lowest element is a group in our flows. So if that flow someone completes, a variable updates and we know at least this is completed.
All right. Thank you.
Sybil, they have multiple milestones within each flow.
Yeah.
So even like if a person is actually going to some other flow, they know they have to resume from this particular point.
Yeah, resume also works on the same thing.
All
Yeah.
right.
They use the same logic. Yeah. Cool. Yes, Pradeep, answering to your question, it's Google Data Studios. So we'll take one more question if anybody else have anything, or else we'll move to the next one.
Yeah, very little transactional question I have. So Saurav, you are having 80K users on your chatbot, right? तो GCS का cost आपका कितना आता है? That part.
So it's not 80K right now. That's like the scale we're looking at. I think right now we have 20, 30, 40, close to like 40, like a rough number.
Okay.
GCS cost is not a lot. I think a 5-10K recharge will be enough for say 6-7 months.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
So Naveen said there are two parts to your cost in GCS, three parts. One is your storage.
Right.
Every message, that is one part of it. The second one is all of your querying, right? When you're viewing a dashboard, you're querying, right?
Right.
That's the second cost. The third thing is for querying, they do a transfer between from unstructured data to a structured table thing. So that's a small third cost. But overall, your primary cost will typically be coming from your storage, because right now, I'm sure many of us do not have a very strong data culture. So until we start using it on a daily basis, we might not incur a high cost. And two, if you're smart, like they have done with the first page, if most of your answers are visible at a page level, your cost will not be too high.
Okay. So I guess we are on the same page. Yeah, thanks, Gautam. Okay. If anyone else are having questions, then you can address that.
Yeah. Thanks, Naveen. Like maybe if you have any questions, you can take towards the end of the call. Yes, Gaurav, can you present? I'll make you the co-host.
Yes, please. Are folks able to see the screen?
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon to everyone. I am Gaurav Lagat. I'm joining from The Apprentice Project. I work as a product manager at TAP. So what does TAP do? I'll start with that, and then we can move on to the dashboard part that we have created. So TAP, our vision is to create leaders of today and tomorrow. We try to do that. We're trying to do that by sending the content to students, which inculcate 21st century skills, and we are doing that via our WhatsApp chatbot, which is run through via Glifc. Our scale currently with respect to chatbot is around 20,000. So 20,000 students and teachers have been onboarded onto our platform. And move on to the dashboard part. So our dashboard is a little different than whatever Saurav has talked about. While Saurav's dashboard was more usage oriented, the dashboard that I'm about to talk about is more related to the health of the chatbot, which is where we try to understand how our chatbot is functioning, how many errors are probably coming in our chatbot, and what sort of errors are these. So what, like, I'll start with the problem statement. The problem statement is we were not able to understand the volume and the categories of issues in the chatbot. So there used to be operations and the on-field team, which used to tell us that, hey, students are not receiving activities or such, maybe students have received this activity very late, etc., etc. And then the issue would come back to us through, internal communication. We would try to diagnose, like, root cause the issue, and we'll try to fix that issue. But again, this is like one or two issues which are probably getting reported from the on-field team to the on-field team, and then getting reported by them to us as well. So there's a huge turnaround time, and a lot of time was being spent in just resolving these issues. So what we tried to do is, the solution that we work towards is, can we think of identifying these issues proactively, and then understand the volume of such issues using the dashboard. So that is the solution that we work towards. So I'll come to the process that we followed, right? The first part was actually understanding what sort of errors are occurring in our flows. So to do that, we tried to take help of some of the errors that we know already, and try to understand, can, like, think backwards from the error and think how can we sort of put some markers in the flows to understand the errors. The first part was identifying the error condition in the flows, and this is basically those corner cases that we would not want our user to get into, but they do because of some error, either while creating the flows or maybe creating collections, any manual processes out there. The second part also that we figured out was, there are few errors which are being thrown by Glyphic or Gupshup that you can find in the messages table itself. So this was the part of discovery of errors. Now, what really helped us as the next step was the tickets feature, which is given by Glyphic. So when we identified the particular conditions where the errors are thrown or errors can be thrown, we created flows in such ways that in those places, the ticket will get auto cut if the user reaches that particular place. So for example, there are two kinds of places that I would broadly want to talk about. If you look at the webhook, there's success, there's failure. We always create the flows in the success wala part, but maybe try and create maybe cut a ticket in the failure wala part. Same thing goes for sheet link, the Google Sheet linkage. Then the third part was, when you have a split by collection or split by condition, you have the other part there. So maybe try and see if the user should really be going to the other section or not. If not, maybe it's a point where you think that you want to cut a ticket there. So that was the second step of this solution, which was cutting the ticket. And the third thing was, when you have all of this data flowing to the BigQuery, you pull the data and you visualize all of this data using charts and graphs. And then you analyze the errors, sort of to identify the trend, find short-term and long-term solutions. There's a solution that I talk about. I would want to now just show you the solution, which is the dashboard. And yeah, so just before I show the dashboard, this is something that we sort of did, which is like, hey, what are the metrics that we would want to track in our dashboard? And we sort of wrote down all the points, and then we discussed internally as well. Ki, hey, can we do this? Is this of any real use to us in the long term, etc. And then we had such discussions, and that is when we ended up creating. And obviously, I want to give credit to Gautam and Krishna. There's a session conducted on this by Glyphic itself, where they presented the health dashboard, and that came of use for us while we created our health dashboard. Yeah, so going to the our health dashboard, which is let's say we understand on every time the flow is triggered, we understand how many users have read, delivered. These are some internal metrics that we track. But what is interesting is how many have errored out. You can always select the date range to filter for a particular time period. And then this is the first category of errors that I talked about, which is the category of errors thrown by the Glyphic or Gupshup here. So let's say if I go from, I select March 11 to 15, I apply. I can see that these are the 4 errors and the number of errors that probably were thrown, number of users who face this particular errors. So now it's easier for me to understand, okay, this is probably the error which 16 number of users actually faced. And then I am able to prioritize that. Let me find out and try and fix this, or just understand the behavior of my chatbot. Going to the second category of error, which is what I had mentioned, key, you use the tickets, but before that you identify the error condition in your flows, and then you understand where the user is probably running into the errors. This is where you sort of, if you see the errors here, they're like sheet link error, there's teacher collection error. So teacher collection error was one of the errors where the teachers weren't present in either of the collections that they were supposed to be present in. And so on. There are individual root causes for each issue here. So this is how our dashboard looks like. I will go back to the presentation. Yes. So coming to the outcomes part. The first point, which is we were able to identify easily the volume of errors that is thrown by Glyphic or Gupshup, and the volume of anticipated errors in the flows, where we have actually programmed for the errors. Keep here, if you have the error, cut a ticket, and the impact due to these errors. So we were easily able to identify all of these things. 371 tickets were closed, which were associated with activities not being sent to sibling profile students. This was figured out because the appropriate value was not found in Google Sheets. This is getting into the nuances of what we have in TAP. But yeah, just trying to link it back to the implementation that we did. And the 123 tickets were closed because of the errors. Like, we identified that because of the errors that were thrown by Glyphic Gupshup. Now coming to the insights part, think of the corner cases in your flows, cut a ticket and group the tickets appropriately. This is where I mentioned that you can think about the corner cases, and I mentioned that you can think about the other part of the flow. You can think about the failure cases in the flows. And the second point is appropriate representation of these issues through charts, trend analysis. So yeah, once you get the data from the dashboard, you can always think about what does it mean, which issue do I want to fix faster? This is probably the number of users that it is impacting on, and what is the recurrence of a particular issue. So you'll understand that this is probably a recurring issue, so I would want to fix this faster. And the last part, coordinate with field teams more effectively. This is something we want to do in future. I'll come to that part a little later. So the next steps is resolve the recurring issues of the year 22, 23, 24 before we move on to the next year. Create an SOP which contains the troubleshooting steps, resolution steps for commonly found issues. So this is what we want to do, where we feel that the tech team and the on-field team can interact much better and more effectively, where if we have the recurring issues listed, enumerated in a place, we can probably think of the solutions, the troubleshooting steps, so that if the SOP is with the on-field team, which is operations team for us, they can effectively handle the user queries, and the turnaround time for resolution of such issues is reduced substantially. So that's what we are working towards. And then we are also parallelly trying to ideate more and see, can we leverage the data from BigQuery even further to understand and gain more insights about the TAPS flows here. So this is it from my end. Over to Krishna.
Thank you, sir, Gaurav. Anybody has any questions for Gaurav?
Yeah, Krishna, I have a question. So Gaurav, you are using the ticket wala feature, right, of Glyphic. Uh, at the point where the failure happens or wherever you want to cut a ticket, you can see those tickets in the ticketing window, right? I guess from there you can handle the issues if it is reoccurring issues or if it's a technical issue. So from there you can check it and you can resolve it. So are you utilizing this dashboard any other for any other use?
So
Because I seems for me the dashboard should show the utilities, how it's going to be used, how what are the reach point to the users, what accomplishment you have done, right? This is more of for a technical team who are developing, right? So that's why I'm asking the question.
absolutely, Naveen. I think that's a good question. So again, dashboard, I want to say that we should look at it in two ways. One is externally facing dashboards and the other one is internally facing dashboards. So the one which is probably usage, which shows usage and which can be shown, to, let's say, our stakeholders who are externally facing, like maybe in our case, it is teachers. Those can have the usage level data. Whereas the one that I'm trying to show is the health of the dashboard, where I'm trying to see the health of my chatbot. And to your point of usage of tickets here, while the ticket in itself can indicate an error that, hey, a particular error has occurred in a particular place, the what we're trying to achieve using dashboard is identifying the volume of such issues. So if you are able to pull that data and you can see that, hey, category A tickets were probably you have some around out of 100 tickets, you have 50 tickets which are from category A, and so on and so forth. So which makes the prioritizing the issues much faster for you. Does that
Okay.
help?
Okay.
And just adding to what Gaurav said, it's more like the ticketing system in the Glyphic platform is more like where you're firefighting, right? Like you're getting the issue, you're solving at that level. This
Right.
helps you to understand the overall, like as he rightly said, like the volume of it. One for the prioritization, to know like, hey, this is a commonly seen problem. So this is a trend. So how do I handle it from a design point of view, like a flow design point of view, or a chatbot design point of view? So that's more like from a long-term perspective rather than seeing like issue by issue or like for an individual basis. So that's the difference, majorly.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, Purva.
Yeah. Thanks.
These kind of dashboards, I personally think, will be very useful at the end of the year review, right? When you're trying to see how you have evolved as a product, these will surface a lot of valuable insights.
Right, Gautam.
Yes, Purva, you can.
Yes. Gaurav, can you help me with one or two uh, examples of how did you think about where will these errors occur, like from a real flow, whatever flow you have in mind? Because I'm just trying to think that how do you, I mean, we do have edge cases, but then for the edge cases also there are error messages that we create within the flow, right? That if someone is going to, there is there is an expected behavior of a user and then there is an unexpected behavior or an error that you wanted them to type a certain ID to move ahead, or you wanted them to upload something and that did not happen and an error happened. Is that the error you are talking here, or what is the kind of error you were mentioning in the presentation?
So it's again, I think I want to just go back to something that I mentioned in the during the flow during the presentation, which is like Glyphic provides you these conditions, right, based on which you create the flows. So for example, one is you link to a Google Sheet, right? So you fetch some value, you either do a read, write, and then you continue with the flow. So there's a success and there is a failure in that node. So success is what you usually write for. Failure is probably you leave it hanging. So that's one place probably you can think about, that this is one error condition or this is one edge case that I would want to see how many people are actually going in the failure condition. Second is think about all the split by, let's say, split by collection, split by the other one is split by value, I think so. There are these conditions again. In that you will find, okay, you condition it for A, B, C, and then there is other. So in that other, probably the user should not be going. And I'll give you the example in our case. So in our case, we have two models, which is one is in school and the other one is after school.
Mm.
Teacher should either be present only in school or after school models. Now, due to some processes that happen internally, few of the teachers were registered in TAP program, but were not present in either of the models.
Mm.
So that is when the teachers ended up going to the other in the flow. Now that actually was something that was, and we did not anticipate that condition, or we did not want, we did not expect that the any teacher would land in that condition. But then we saw when we backtracked few errors that came from our operations team. We backtracked few of them. We realized, okay, this is what is happening. Let's see what is the volume of such issues. Let's see how many issues teachers are actually hitting that condition, which is where we cut a ticket and we realized, okay, there are few teachers where this issue is happening. So coming back to the point, this was the condition where we did the split by collection, the in-school model, the after-school model, and the third one was other. So in other, you cut the ticket and then you give the error message. So while you program for the error messages, also maybe think about that error messages are something that you want to send out to teachers or you want to send out to your users at that moment. But maybe also cut a ticket to understand it internally.
Okay, that how many people are basically reaching that
Correct.
place. Okay, okay. And this you will so this you will think while you are creating the flows, right? It's, I mean, the discovery of errors will also happen parallelly when your flows are getting built.
Yes, while we are creating the flows.
Okay, okay. ठीक है. Thank you.
And also, like,
Huh.
maybe it might be worth thinking that for all your flows from technical perspective, think about what will make you think whether your flow is robust enough or not. What are the metrics that might help you think, okay, like, your flow is at its best or not. This might be like, this is a little vague, but I'm just thinking that, like, how we think about every project product, every project and feature, think about it from a very technical perspective. What are the metrics that you want to track for your flows? Like maybe number of errors, it might be latency, it might be, etc.
Okay, okay.
But I think there's a fundamental philosophy, very, very fundamental truth in what Gaurav was saying. If you look at every flow you create and you figure out how you can monitor the health of that particular flow, right? In a way, some of it is already there in V5. In a way, the way they've surfaced it is very powerful. If you can combine the two, I think you will be in complete control over your flows, which is a very powerful place to be.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for this. Yeah.
Yeah, Vishwa. Thanks, Purva.
Yeah, I have a connecting question. What I mean, in alignment with what Purva also shared, and this again, not specifically to Gaurav, but maybe Krishna and Gautam, because I have always thought, like, whenever there are these two nodes, like success and failure, we usually use the one node that is coming out of success. I mean, it usually keep the failure hanging, and even for the type of node where we are restarting another flow that is like complete and expired. So I have always wondered how can I use this expired wala flow or that failure wala flow. So I just wanted to understand from Gaurav, is it something that you are like anticipating the error and you are maybe adding a send a message node, or is it even possible to maybe look into logs or something, like basically now maybe I'll share an example that I was trying a few days back. I was just using Bharshini call and Google Sheet API, linking Google Sheet as well, where it was failing. And the thing that I was able to check was the webhook call log. which I checked. But it was not, I mean, I was not able to understand where the error is happening. And I was stuck. Should I reach out to Bhashini team or should I reach out to Glifc team for this? So my doubt is more around, is it something like result.error or something that can help us in the node wherever, we can add a node on failure wala end and use that information. Yeah, I mean, around that. So is it possible? Is it working that way right now?
So I think I'll add a bit and then maybe Krishna, Gautam can add. Vishwa, I think to start off with, uh, if I understand all of this correctly, is where are these places probably that we should look out for, right? Where we can maybe like preempt these errors. So again, as I said, right, look for the failures part. I'm not really sure flow expired part is going to give you a lot of information. I am not the best person to comment on it. But I think sheet linkage failure, definitely. Webhook failure, definitely. Um, I think any failure for that matter, if you see in Glyphic, as of now, I think I only recall these two failures. They'll definitely give you. Now, in terms of more errors that I was talking about from, let's say, Glyphic Gupshup, you can find that in the messages table itself. You will find whether it is error, what is the error there. So there's, I think, one complete field per message that you have. This is the field. And to relate it back to your Glyphic console, on Glyphic console itself, you might see the message and there's a red, triangle with a warning saying that, hey, this was not sent because of XYZ reason. So now you'd see that for one person, if you want to see it on a volume, like on a, how many users are facing the same issue, that is something you can pull from BigQuery. But these are my thoughts. Krishna, Gautam, you want to add them?
No, I don't have anything else to add. Like, probably I would like to deep dive into understand Vishwa's question first before actually providing solution. And another thing which I just thought is maybe it's a question for everybody in the call. Like, would it be helpful if Tap shares like what are the list of categories where they add these tickets? So that instead of you thinking from scratch, probably start from there and then brainstorm with the team. Only if Tap team is comfortable sharing. Like just the categories wherever you add, like the webhook failures or the sheet failures. Would that be helpful? If yes, maybe you can react or put like a yes in chat. And then we'll collate it, like share it with you.
Gaurav, if you're okay, and yeah, I mean, if everyone is also okay, would you mind actually, sharing your screen and show us one of the flows where you've used this failure wala node and, I mean, yeah, how have you used it?
Sorry, I will like just stop a bit here. So in the interest of time, I just want you to fill like a small form and then we can continue with the
Sure,
discussion
sure.
if somebody else wants to discuss. Saurabh, even your question will take it post that. Like, can you all take like 3 to 4 minutes to just fill this? It will help us to understand what else we can do in these webinar or like any takeaways which will help us to templatize or like create some resources for everybody in the team. So could you just take like 2 to 3 minutes to complete that and then we'll resume the discussion.
Krishna, you're able to view my screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So, Vishwa, if you see, I'll just tell you the use case. Basically, we were trying to send a test a Google form which has a couple of questions, and we wanted our users, which are students, to fill out the answers to those questions, etc. Now we wanted to collect some feedback from the students. So we gave them some prompts and asked them, hey, can you type in or send an audio note? Now, if you see, if the user is typing in a question, a response, it is going to Google Sheet. In the success, we have obviously programmed like, hey, you know what? Thank you. You close the message, you flow, etc. Same, and if there is an audio, we use the transcribe, the ASR feature by Bhashini to actually write it to then ultimately write it to the sheet. So this is what we were doing. Now in this case, if you see there's a failure. So if basically you're not able to write to Google Sheet, there's a failure. So that failure we are highlighting using a ticket here. Now, in this case, the failure is something that we don't want our users to know that there's a failure, but internally we would want to track why this happened. Same thing for webhook. Like, let's say that Passion is down. I would not want to say that like the user should stop using the flow, or user should see something some error message from our end. So I'm just cutting a ticket and just closing the flow here. So this is our program for. Does that help you?
Yeah, just one quick question. So
Yeah.
on this CDF5 node, what would you have in result? Is it like the error message? I mean,
Can
what
you
do you usually have in result?
in the CDFI, this is a ticket, this is a ticket creation, right? You just write whatever you want to write. You can add more details here, right? Like you can add the flow name. You can add probably the contact details that you want to capture here. That is up to you.
Okay, so currently you have defined this as pay. Okay, yeah, I got it. I think I got the answer.
Yeah, but here the point to be noted that we don't really send any message to students. Bhashini failure, it's okay. We just have to know that there are, like, let's say that out of 10 calls that we're doing to Bhashini, 2 are erroring out. That's all we need to know, maybe, when it comes to this part. And like similarly, when you're working with Jugalbandi, you can configure for failure no to sort of cut a ticket.
Got it.
Just building on what Gaurav was sharing, this is brilliant, right? Because in one place you have all the errors, you can see how the error happened, helps you with diagnosing. If you just add to what they have done with, let's say webhooks are very important for you, right? And let's say you add, there's a node in Glifc where you can send a team member a message. For very critical tasks, if you can send yourself a message saying this user has failed here, while you create an open ticket, it allows you to respond at different intensities for different types of issues. High intensity, immediately you get a notification on WhatsApp saying this is failed. You can quickly log in and see. Right? Otherwise, you can have a ticket where once a day you can check and see what's happening. So both of this will help you improve the overall responsiveness and reliability of your bot. Thank you, Gaurav, for sharing. I found this damn neat.
Thank you, Gautam.
Thank you so much, everyone. In case you haven't filled the form, please do fill up the form. That's the first request. And in case you need any like such webinars in future, or in case you want to connect with Gaurav and Saurabh, please let us know, or you can reach out to them directly. I'll also share their email IDs over the email after this call. Thank you so much, Saurabh and Gaurav. I just realized your names rhyme. Thank you so much for initiating this, and hopefully we'll have more such webinars in future. Thank you so much, guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.